Hello everyone and welcome to our next pre-recorded video for Year 4. This lesson is Lesson 5 and we are obviously in Block 6 and we're going to be focusing on some more non-verbal reasoning and mathematics. Looking forward to going through this video with you. Of course, if you do need to pause at any time when you go through the video, then you can, and we're looking forward to covering off all of the content within Lesson 5. Let's bring up the slides just so you can see what we're going to be focusing on. This will be the book that we'll use within the non-verbal part of the lesson. So this is the Schofield and Sims book. So please make sure you've got that one to hand. But the first thing that you'll need to do is make sure please that you have test 17 ready for your mental arithmetic test. So test 17, this is the sheet that you require. As we know, we've got all of the question numbers down the side and we've got all the information next to the questions that you may require as we go down through the test. You might remember from the last mental arithmetic test that we did, we now have 20 questions that we need to work through. So if you do need to pause the video at this stage to get your sheet ready, and then you can come back and we will start going through the questions. I'm going to put Billy in the bottom corner, so it's easier for you to listen and concentrate. And we're now going to start the mental arithmetic test, test 17. First set of questions, I will read every question twice, and these first set you have 5 seconds to work out the answer and record it on your sheet. So number 1, write the number 9,702. Write the number 9,702. Question 2. Add together 5, 11, 4 and 3. Question 3. Two numbers have a difference of 17. One of the numbers is 28. What's the other? Two numbers have a difference of 17. One of the numbers is 28. What is the other? And there are 2 possible answers for question 3. Question 4. Write the number that is 100 more than 7,910. Write the number that is 100 more than 7,910. Question 5. Round 867 litres to the nearest 10 litres. Question 5. Round 867 litres to the nearest 10 litres. Question 6. What are 8 lots of 7? Question 7. 35 children get a party bag containing 10 colour pencils. How many pencils are there altogether? 35 children get a party bag containing 10 colour pencils. How many pencils are there altogether? Question 8. Write the correct sign or symbol for greater than or less than in the empty box. Write the correct sign or symbol for greater than or less than in the empty box. Question 9. On your sheet is a scale. Write the number shown by the arrow. On your sheet is a scale. Write the number shown by the arrow. Question 10. Double 1,400. Double 1,400. So that's the end of the first 10 questions. We're now going to move on to question 11. And from 11 down to 20, you do have a little bit longer to work these out. Question 11. 160 children visited the cinema on Saturday and 170 children went on Sunday. How many went at the weekend altogether? 160 children visited the cinema on Saturday and 170 children went on Sunday. How many went at the weekend altogether? Question 12. Assembly starts at 9:45 a.m. and finishes at 10 a.m. How long does it last? Question 13. There are 79 seeds in a packet. How many will there be in 100 packets? There are 79 seeds in a packet. How many will there be in 100 packets? Question 14. There are 36 children in a class. If they are divided up into 4 equal teams, how many are in each team? There are 36 children in a class. If they are divided up into 4 equal teams, how many are in each team? Question 15. There are a dozen eggs in a box. How many eggs are in 20 boxes? There are a dozen eggs in a box. How many eggs are in 20 boxes? Question 16. Ring the fraction that is the same as 0.7. Question 16. Ring the fraction that is the same as 0.7. Question 17. Through how many degrees will the hour hand of a clock turn if it moves from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock? Question 17. Through how many degrees will the hour hand of a clock turn if it moves from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock? Question 18. What is the remainder when 31 is divided by 4? What is the remainder when 31 is divided by 4? Question 19. What is the remainder when 768 is divided by 100? And the last question for your mental arithmetic test, question 20. How much water is in the jug on your sheet? how much water is in the jug on your sheet. So hopefully you've managed to do all 20 questions. What you can do now is, if you want to, is pause the video, just double check that you've managed to answer all those questions using the information down the side as well. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reveal those answers to you. So let's have a little look. There we are. So question 1, 9,702. So as you go down through, you can give it a tick. We had to add together those numbers. So add together 5, 11, 4 and 3. And of course we get 23. Now we have two different possible answers here. Two numbers have a difference of 17. One of the numbers is 28. So we could do 28 add 17. So that's hopefully quite a simple one to do. And that will get you 45. So that's one option. The other option is to subtract. So we're obviously still starting with 28. And we're going to subtract 17. And that will get us 11. So if you put 11, you can have the mark. If you put 45, you can also have the mark. Question 4, we need to write the number that is 100 more than 7,910. So that'll be 8,010. Number 5, we need to round 867 litres to the nearest 10 litres. Now, as we've got 8, 6, 7, and we know that the 7 is 5 and above, of course, we always round up. So we're having a 7, we're going to be going to 870. Number 6, what's 8 lots of 7? Knowing your times tables is important. 56. Number 7, 35 children get a party bag containing 10 colour pencils. And how many pencils are there all together? Well, of course, if we do 10 35s, we get 350. Number 8, got to write the correct symbol here. Well, this, of course, is the less than symbol. Now, let's just need to think a little bit more carefully about this. So if this was, if I had sort of a thermometer here, if we had minus 17 here, what would be the next number? It would be minus 16, minus 15. So obviously it's getting, the numbers are getting larger. So if 0 is here, and then these are all the positive numbers this end, and then we've got all the negative numbers down here. As you can see, which is the smaller of the numbers? Well, of course, minus 17. If you think of it like temperature, minus 17 is a lot colder than minus 14. So the little arrow, or the little part of the greater than, less than symbol needs to be pointing towards the minus 17. So it will read as minus 17 is less than minus 14. So hopefully you've got that one correct. Number 9, what is the arrow pointing at? Well, of course, it's 0. Because if we were to split up the divisions, we've got 1 here, 0, and then this goes minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, and then we've got minus 5, and we were given minus 6. Number 10 is double 1,400 to give us 2,800. So well done. If you got good marks out of 10, you can always put a little mark out of 10 just so it's easy to add up at the end. Number 11, we've got to add these two numbers together. This with the amount of children that have gone to the cinema, 330. How long is the assembly? Well, it's 15 minutes. Number 13, we've got 79 seeds in a packet. How many? 100 packets, 7,900. We need to divide 36 children into 4 teams. There will be 9 in each team. Remember, you can double check by doing 9 times 4 is 36. Then we had 12 eggs of course, in a dozen is equal to 12. So we need to do 20 times 12, which gives us 240. Number 16, need to ring the fraction that is the same as 0.7. Well, that's 7/10. Number 17, now it's worth noting that between each of the numbers on a clock face, it is 30 degrees. So 90 degrees between 5 and 8. 31 divided by 4, well, if we did 4 times 7, we would get 28. So what have we got left over? We've got a remainder of 3. 768 divided by 100, of course, goes in 7 times, but 68 left. And what's my jug pointing at? If this is a litre, so we're going up by 100 millilitres each time. And of course, 400 millilitres is how much I've got in my jug. Well done if you managed 20 out of 20 this week. We are getting a little bit more tricky as we move through the weeks, but well done if you got 20 out of 20. Right, we're now going to go to our second little test of this lesson. And we're going to be focusing on science words this week. So what I'm going to do, hopefully you've got your spelling book out ready. I'm going to ask you to write the numbers 1 to 10. And then I'm going to call those words out, and I'd like you please to write them down in your spelling book. So number 1, first science word is growth. Growth. If you see lots of growth, if you're watching plants as they grow, there's lots of growth. Number 2, insect. Write the word insect. Number 3, oxygen. Oxygen. Number 4, element. Element. Number 5 is mammal. Write the word mammal. Number 6, fairly tricky little word this one, so just be careful. Particles. Particles. Write the word particles. Number 7, I'd like you to write the word pressure. Number 8, reproduce. Reproduce. Write the word reproduce. Now your 2 red words this week. Number 9 is thermometer. Thermometer. It's a good word to know how to spell. Write the word thermometer. And the last word this week is evaporation. Evaporation. Something that happens when water heats up. It evaporates. But write the word evaporation. So, hopefully you've managed to get all of those words written down. Let's reveal what those words were and how you spell them. Let's have a look. There we go. Now, what I will do here, just to make it easier for you to see, I'm just going to snip those words, going to make them a little bit bigger for you, put them on a separate page. This is what we've been doing recently, just to make sure that you can see those words clearly. So there they are. So if it looks a little bit blurry, but probably easier to see than they were on the previous screen. So just go down through, check your spellings, growth, insect, oxygen. Always look for your shy words. We've got men, of course, in element. We've got mammal, make sure it's got 2 M's. Particles contains the word art. Just look carefully at those spellings. Pressure, make sure you've got 2 S's, double consonant there. We've got rod, of course, in produce. Thermometer, one of your longest words this week. Hopefully you got that one correct. And evaporation. Got rat in there. So well done if you've got 10 out of 10 this week. And hopefully you know a little bit about some of those words already and maybe learned some of the meanings as well. So that's the end of our 2 tests that we needed to get through. We're now going to move on to our next part of our lesson, which is going to be focusing on codes today. Now, if I can ask you please all to go to page 58 in your books. Now, on page 58, when you get there, you're going to see hopefully something that says codes at the top. And we're going to be focusing on this particular question type in this lesson. Now, codes are always good fun. It's all about identifying similarities. and hopefully working out the code. So hope you're feeling a little bit like a detective today, because that's how you're going to need to be. So we're going to break the codes. So in nonverbal reasoning, codes are letters that are used to describe pictures. Each picture has 2 letters beneath it. Each letter describes one part of the picture. You are given several pictures, each of which has a 2-letter code. You need to work out which or what each letter is describing. Then you find the code that describes a final additional picture. You're always given a choice of codes from which to pick your answer. So look at the feature that pictures with the same letter have in common. So we're going to have a little look at a simple example here. So PR stands for a black circle, PS stands for a black triangle, HR for a white circle, and we've got to work out what the code is for our white triangle. The first thing to notice, we've got 2 P's, and I always ask myself the same question. Why are they similar? Well, they're both bold shading. So that means the first letter of this particular shape, the H, means that it's a blank shading. So I know that the first letter that I require for my triangle, because it's blank, is going to be an H. That means I can cross out any that don't have an H. Now, interestingly, on this particular question, you're actually left with the answer of C straight away. But let's just have a look at the second letter. R, S, R. Now, what do the 2 R's have in common? Well, it's not to do with the shading, because we've already done that. It's now to do with the shape. So the R must represent the circle. If we look at R's, we're going to obviously need a triangle, and the S stands for the triangle. So the answer is H and an S. So just going back, the first thing to do is to see what those shapes have in common and look for the letters that are the same. Let's now go and have a look at another example, and this is also on the bottom of page 58. So what I'd like you to do is have a go now at writing next to each of these letters what you think they stand for. So you can pause the video if you want to at this stage, and then we'll go down through and share with you what they stand for. So let's have a look at the F. So we've got 2 F's here. So why are these 2 the same? Well, they represent the square. So what we'd like you to do is just write on the line what they actually represent. So the F stands for the square. Therefore, the D represents the circle. And it's clear to us, of course, we've got a D. So we're going to need a D on our first one. So I'm actually going to cross out the ones that don't have a D. That leaves me with 3 options. So I'm going to need to work out in this one what the second letter stands for. So let's have a look at the second letter. We've got a K, a B, and a B. And what do the 2 B's have in common? Well, the 2 B's is because of their vertical lines, and this has diagonal lines. So B, I'm going to write here, vertical. Now, we could put it down as vertical stripes, or we could use the word lines, but we're going to put vertical stripes down on our line. So that's vertical lines. And what about the K then? Well, that's going to be diagonal lines, diagonal, or diagonal stripes if you like. And let's go and have a look and see what we require. Well, we're going to need them to be also going diagonally. So we need those to be going diagonally. So therefore, the answer has to be D and K. So therefore, I can eliminate B. I can also eliminate E. And the answer would be D, DK. Let's now go and have a look at page 59. So just building up your understanding of codes before we do get to some questions. So as the questions get harder, you're going to be given more pictures with more features. So let's have a look and see what we've got here. Now we've got a series of flags. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to underline the letters that are the same. So I've got M, M, and M. That's my first letter. Remember, this is what we would describe as your test shape. And that means that we actually need to work out what the code is going to be for that particular question. Okay. So the M's stand for the fact that it is a rectangular shape. Obviously got a wavy flag here, that's what we need. So we are going to need to have an H as our first letter. So that means I can cross out the ones that don't have H. Looking now at the second letter, the two P's because they're blank in shading. You can see why they are similar. The U is because it's striped and the K is because it's bold. What do we need? Well, we obviously need it to be striped. So it is going to be an H and a U. So it's the final picture is a wavy flag that is striped. H is wavy and U is stripy. So the code should have been HU. Right, I'd like you to have a go at this one now. So again, if you want to pause the video, this would be a good opportunity to do that. Let's have a little look at what we've got. So first of all, going to focus on the two Ds. And the two Ds are pointing down. So it's really about position in terms of where they're pointing. So we can say the arrow is facing down. Now we're going to look at the W. Now the W, we're going to have the arrow facing left. So the arrow facing left. And then looking carefully at C, what have we got for C? So the arrow, if we look at this arrow here, is facing up. So arrow, you could say pointing or facing up. Now we're going to be focusing our attentions on the second letter. So let's go and have a look and see what's going on there. So we've got an L and an L. Well, the L is going to be the bold shading. So we're going to put bold, we could say black shading. And that leaves us with two letters left. Let's have a look at the T. So with the T, we can say white, because it's white shaded. And the G, if we look carefully at the G, we can describe that as horizontal stripes. Now this is quite important because it gets you to look really carefully at the different features. Now we can work out our answer. So we've got an arrow pointing up. So which one was that? Well, that needs to be a C. So I can eliminate that one. I can eliminate that one. So I've got rid of B and E because look, the C is not the first letter. Now if we focus on the second letter, we do need the horizontal stripes. So that's going to be G. So the answer to this one is going to be C, G. Let's move on now to the next page. Now we're going to focus on page 60. Now what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be getting into the questions. What we do in our live lessons, of course, is we do use the timer and we do time you for 2.5 minutes. So if you would like to set something at home that times you for 2.5 minutes, you're then going to complete page 60. So I'd ask you please to have a go at page 60 and work out what your answers are. Right, let's have a little look at those answers. And let's just quickly go down through and see if we can work out what was happening. So the answer is RS. So if we look first of all at the two Ds, why are the two Ds similar? Well, it's still to do with the outside shape. We're looking at the R, so we're going to have a triangular bit on the outside. And then the second letter, we're looking at the shading, I think, of the inside shape. Yes, because we've got two bold there. So let's just make sure that that's correct. Yeah, so we've got the S stands for the grey and then the P stands for the black. So the answer is going to be RS because the S has the grey, as you can see, look, in the middle there. So well done if you got that one right. Question 2, the answer is C. So well done if you got that one. And let's just quickly talk about what they each stand for. So if we look at the C's first of all, what do the C's have in common? Well, the diagonal from top left to bottom right. So it's all to do with the way that the line is going. So we're looking at this line here and this line here. So ours is actually completely horizontal. Okay, so we know that our first letter would have been B. Coming back to the second letter, again, I would look at the two W's and ask yourself the question why they are similar. And if we look at the two W's, one black and two white stars. we're going to need 2 black stars and 1 white, so we're going to need an F. Question 3, we've got M and A. Let's just see if we can work out why M and A gives us the right answer. Well, if we look at the L's, that would be the first thing to focus on. What does the L's? And so when you're looking at these pictures, it's, well, what have you actually got that's the same? And what have you got that's common? And with that one, we can see that the L stands for the rectangle, the N stands for the triangle, and then the M stands for the hexagon. Now we're actually going to need a hexagon, so we're going to need the M. And then the second letter, we've got the W's, 2 W's together. They stand for white, A stands for black, and the H stands for grey. So therefore, we're going to need A, we need the black, so it'll be MA. Moving on to question 4. So looking very carefully at those letters that are the same. So with the 2 D's, you'll see that there's a double arrow. Okay, and the H is a singular arrow and there's no arrow there. And then the H, another singular arrow. So we've obviously got more pictures arriving now. So we need to look at our test shape. Now we don't want to have any arrow at all, so we know that's okay. Then if we look at the second letter, the T and the T, why are they similar? Well, it's actually to do with this shape here in terms of the white rectangle. So, and the white rectangle under the line, so we've got the 2 T's stand for the white rectangle on the line. The Z is the black rectangle above the line. S is the black rectangle under the line. And the N is the white rectangle above the line. So we're going to need to have the Z because that's where the black rectangle is. So well done if you got that one right. Number 5, the answer is D. It's MJ. Let's just quickly run down through and see why they are the same. So we look at the 2 L's. It's all to do with the shape. M is the triangle, R is the rectangle, C is the trapezium. We need an M because we're dealing with the triangle. And then the second letter, we're actually looking at the number of shapes inside, so the number of circles. So G is 3, P is 2, F is black but 2, P is 2, so these 2 are the same of course. And then we've got J for 3, black, and that's the one that we need, so it's MJ. The last one in this particular page is BU, and let's just see if we can work out why. So we've got 2 A's, and the 2 A's stand for the number of lines that we've got. So we've got 3 lines, 2 lines, then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. We actually need 4, so we're going to need the B. And then if we look at the second letter, the G stands for a white circle, the U is a black circle, 2 U's obviously, and then the C is no circle at all. So what do we need? We need the black circle, so it will be BU. So well done on that particular section. You can record your mark, of course, out of 6. Let's move on now to page 61. So we're still focusing on codes, and I have put the timer there again just to remind you to time yourself for 2.5 minutes. So let's just set it so you can see, and you can pause the video now, find a way of timing yourself for 2.5 minutes. Right, let's have a look at the answers. So if we go down through, we've got D, A, and B. So if we look at the first one, see if we can understand why these letters are the code for what we've got there. So we look at the 2 F's. Why are they similar? Well, they're similar because they've got 2 black ovals. L white, so we're going to need L. 2 W's is because of the black rectangles, and then the T, of course, is the white rectangles. So if we look at ours, we're going to need LT because we've got 2 white rectangles. Question 2, if we look at the 2 H's, why are they similar? Well, of course, the arrows and the direction they're pointing. We need our arrow pointing that way, so we know that the first letter we're going to require is a K. And then it's all about the position of the little white circle. The white circle needs to be at the above the arrow, so we're going to need an E, so it's KE. Looking down here, we've got PSJ. Now, they're all different, so when you see that kind of thing, you have to ask yourself, well, why are they all different? Now, if we actually look at the position of the rectangle, it needs to be in the middle, so we're going to need an S. So that will be the first thing to look at. And then why have we got two R's? Well, it's actually the way that the arrow and the black dot are facing. We need it kind of pointing up, so it'll be SG. Question 4, LY. Question 5 is TS. And then number 6 is E. So if we look at question 4, why have we got an L for the first letter? Well, let's see if we can work out why. So if we look at question 4, well, there's an even number of crosses. So that gives us 4. And then 2 L's is an odd number and D is even. So we actually need an odd number, hence why we get L. And then if we look at the next one, it's all to do with the number of black crosses. So we've got E is 1, A is 2, E is 1 again, Y is 3. We actually need 3, so LY. Number 5, the answer, as we said earlier, was D. And the reason that it's D is because if we look at the 2 P's, I think is worth concentrating on. It's the way that the triangle is facing. We're actually needing a T. It needs to be into a similar position as that. And then the second letter is all about where that little circle is going to be positioned. So if we look at the circle at the top of the diagonal edge of the triangle, so we are going to need an S. It's going to need to be at the top. So well done if you got that one right. And number 6, we've got, now this is actually a little bit more tricky. You've got to count up the number of sides. So L is going to represent 12. Z is going to represent 8. F is going to represent 11. And then we've got W is 9. I should have started with that one really. And then we've got another L, so that's also 12. If we add up R's, what do we need? Well, we need a W, so that will give us 9. So that was quite tricky, but just counting up the number of sides, mustn't forget to do that. Then if we look at the shading, we've got horizontal lines, as you can see here. So we've got M has got, let's have a little check. M has got the vertical lines. N has obviously got horizontal. We're going to need horizontal, so it's WN. So well done on that particular one. Let's go now and have a look at page 62. And this will be the last set that we just have a look down through. And let's see if we can check and see how you've got on here. So number 1 is D. And the reason that it is D is because if we look at the 2 F's, we've obviously got 3 stars. We will need 2, so that gives us a T to start with. Now with the second letter, you're obviously going to need to look at something slightly different. The J, and the J is all the position of the black triangle and the arrow. So just looking at that, ours will need to be going, so we've also got the arrow to deal with as well. So we're going to need to have a D, because the arrow, of course, is pointing down. So TD. Question 2, we've got B as the answer. And if we look very carefully at the S's, we've obviously got the oval there, the large oval. But we're going to need the L on the outside, so we're going to need the rectangle. And then it's all about the shape inside. So again, it's always worth looking at the letters that are the same. So the H and the H, they've obviously got a black square. We're going to need a V because it's got a little tiny white rectangle inside a square there, so LV. Number 3. Again, look carefully at what's happening here. If we look first of all at the G, what does the G stand for? Well, of course, that's in squares. We're going to need it in a triangle here, and then it's all about the shading inside. So if we look very carefully at the number that's being shaded in, we would actually need it to be a half. So it would have to be N is a half there. That's obviously a quarter. That's let me just check. It's a 1/9, and that's a quarter. Yeah, that's a quarter there. So in actual fact, we would need, sorry, N is the half. We would need the half as well. So it will be UN. So K was just a quarter. Well done if you got that one right. A little bit more tricky looking at the fractions there. And the last 3, let's have a look at what we've got here. We've got D. So if we look at the B first of all, we've got a black arrow. Q, I think, is going to be grey. P is going to be white. We need a grey. That gives us a Q. Then if we look at the two L's, we've got 4 lines there. E is 3 lines. T is 1 line. And then 2 there is F. We're going to need the 2. So it's going to be the F there. Now looking at number 5, we've got H. Why are they similar? Well, obviously the arrows are going the same way round. We need the Z. That's going to be our first letter. Then let's look at the second one. Again, it's easier to identify arrows that are the same. So if we look at the W, that will be grey. V will be black with white spots. A little bit difficult to see the spots there. If we look at R's, we're going to need the Y because of these diagonal stripes here. Question 6. Sometimes you might prefer just to look at the test shape first. That might be an easier way of starting it. But if we look at the S's, the S's are to do with the horizontal patterning or the horizontal shading. We've got the triangular one on the trapezium behind, so we are going to need a C. And then if we look very carefully at the arrows are all slightly different, but we're going to need a double-ended arrow, so we are going to need to have an L, so CL. Well done. If you do get an opportunity to do the next page, you can have a go at page 63. That would be great. You can always just check the answers in the back, but that's something a little bit additional for you to have a go at. Just a reminder, your next spelling words are PE words, some really nice words for you to get your teeth into there. And don't forget, please, in terms of your week 5 homework, you're going to be doing analogies and sequences. That is something you've already done before, so it'll be good for you to practice that in your Schofield and Sims book, the NVR Rapid Test 4 book for 9 and 10 years. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you found it useful. And we, of course, look forward to seeing you, hopefully, in our next live lesson. Take care. Bye.